Now, Ranjit, tell me a little bit more about how the products have been going. What's the feedback been like?
Well, the feedback's been really positive since we started to develop Genie products. What we found is that lots and lots of schools have adopted the technology very successfully, and in fact, I think because the products are very simple and easy to use, the integration of them in the classroom has been really easy for the teachers. Yeah, so I think they've been very, very successful.
Is there one area or one aspect of the products that you found you've had the biggest response from and the biggest positivity from?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we've been really amazed in terms of the response back from the visualisers. I mean, the Genie Vision Visualiser has really been adopted tremendously over the last 3 to 4 years. And what we've started to do now is to integrate it with other technology. So whether that be with an interactive whiteboard or whether it be with a response system, and that integration and that interoperability is going really well.
And I've seen that in action here at the school, and it is quite fascinating to see how excited not just the teachers seem to get, but the pupils are so enthusiastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the real excitements for us as well as a company, because to be able to bring out a product which adds real excitement into a classroom is great. And I think one of our mottos is to make learning fun. And I think what you've got both with the visualizer and the response system is making learning fun and interaction between the teacher and the pupils. And I think that's what we've really found when they're being used.
So where's next then?
Well, I think what we want to do now is continue to build upon those products, but also, as I said, integrate them together. So we started to develop new modules such as a module called Text and Drop, which allows you to integrate our ClassComm response system with our Genie Vision Visualizer. So it really brings a different dimension to teaching. So what you're able to do is put a piece of work or an artifact on the visualizer and then get the students to respond using our ClassComm response system. So, and that's a different dimension to what is happening out there.
Have you found that teachers are sort of pushing their own boundaries, really, as you give them the technology? Maybe it's giving them a bit more sort of va-va-voom to push their level of expertise.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think the ICT adoption by lots of teachers, they're really prepared to experiment. They're really prepared to use this cutting edge technology and really try and adopt it into their learning. And they can see the benefits. They can see the children adopting the technology very quickly, and they can see their teaching being enhanced by the use of it. So, oh, absolutely. We've been very, very pleased with how our products have been integrated into the classroom.
And I think the other thing is, from what I've seen, you are helping teachers, you are helping them cut down on, you know, what is always the big bugbear, which is, you know, paperwork, more paperwork. And really the system seems to help them get on top of that and cut down the need for things like photocopying 450 copies, you know, and killing
Absolutely.
a few trees when you can just have one.
Absolutely. I mean, that you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think the Genie Vision is a great green product, if you like. You know, why sit there and photocopy 30-odd worksheets when you can put it on the visualizer and get the children working straight from the exercise books? It makes perfect sense. I think the other thing that people forget, of course, is that the visualizer is also a video recorder, and you can record what the students are doing and then play that back or upload it onto a virtual learning environment or onto a digital signage product. So I think people forget that, you know, visualizer isn't just about show and tell, but it's actually about a lot more than that.
Ranjit, I was fascinated today. I was in a class with sort of 6-year-olds and watching how the teacher managed to, you know, use the visualizer to encourage thoughts about numbers, maths, was completely amazing. And these 6-year-olds were absolutely spellbound. I mean, you must have a great sense of pride when you see something like that.
Oh, absolutely. I think thing with children now, they're prepared to adopt technology very quickly, and I think what the visualizer allows you to do is to bring things like numbers in, or bring in artifacts, and very quickly show them with the rest of the class, but also investigate it. I mean, I know lots of teachers, they'll use something like a flower and put it on the visualizer, zoom in on the petal and the stem and the root, or they might bring in something like a spider. That's actually creepy crawly spider, and put that on the visualizer, and then zoom in on its legs and see, and I think for children in primary, that's learning is all about exploring and investigating, and I think that's something that the visualizer actually lets you do very easily. So in terms of technology, I think that really helps.
And looking at it as well from the teacher's perspective, it was wonderful how they were able to balance the lesson and give it a lot of variety, because they didn't have to spend 10 minutes prepping up something. It was literally wham, under the visualizer, and they were off. And then once the kids' attention span, the pupils had got through that, they could move on to something else.
Yeah.
I think the ease of use is very important, isn't it?
No, I agree with you. And I think the spontaneity, I think when teachers teach, they're very spontaneous. I think lots of teachers, though they might have put an excellent lesson plan together, very rarely stick to it very rigidly, and always try and go with where the lesson might be going in terms of exploring a certain avenue. And I think the visualizer helps, because you can actually very quickly put something on the visualizer and start to talk about it to the pupils, and let your lesson flow really into the direction, whatever direction you want it to go in. And I think that's quite exciting. I think teachers like doing that.
One thing that amazed me was, and I'd like to know why you've put this feature in actually, is in colour. Obviously, yes. The pupils were seeing themselves in colour, and all of a sudden the teacher was able to flick it into black and white, and the pupils were amazed. It was like, wow. Why did you put that function on there?
Well, I mean, colour plays a big part in primary. At primary level, and being able to talk about the use of colour, so you can take a colour picture, strip out all the pixels, make it black and white, and discuss with the pupils what was the artist thinking when they use those colours. The visualizer actually also allows you to add red or blue or green pixels a step at a time, so you can manipulate colour as well. And at a very early age, colour is a big part of what kids do, and drawing pictures and so on, and the use of colour appropriately is really important. So we thought that feature was absolutely essential in a visualizer. And
explain to me how the split screen function came about, because I've seen that in action quite a bit, and it's always impressive.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the idea behind split screen was there was a number of different reasons why we brought it about. A peer-to-peer assessment is a very big part of what's done in primary and at secondary. And being able to compare and contrast two pieces of work. Now, you might be comparing a level 3 piece of work with a level 4 piece of work, and really talking to the pupils about why that is a level 4 piece of work, not a level 3 piece of work. But also being able to look at a piece of work, split the screen and say, how could we improve that piece of work? What else could we do to that piece of work to enhance it? And then perhaps jotting the ideas on the right-hand side of the split screen, so that you could share that with the rest of the class. And of course, it adds for differentiation. It's great because lots of primary schools have mixed ability classes. So the ability to be able to put two pieces of work, perhaps one tailored to one group of children in a class, and another group to another group of children, is actually very important as well. So the split screen really plays a number of different roles within a visualizer.
Now, Ranjit, nearly every school I know has an interactive whiteboard. Where's next? Where should we be looking?
Well, I think, you're absolutely right. A lot of schools have got interactive whiteboards and are making excellent use out of them. But I think if they then look at visualizers and interactive response systems, such as our Genie Vision visualizer or our ClassCom response system, it really gives them an opportunity to develop their teaching and learning into another direction. I mean, lots of schools, what they do is they use the interactive whiteboard and they might get the children interacting and coming up and using it. But if you've got a real artifact and you're able to put it on the visualizer and then bring it into your interactive whiteboard, so you could annotate and highlight and do everything you've normally done, but with a real object or a real piece of work, I think that adds a really interesting dimension to the learning environment. And then able to bring a response system in and maybe ask a question immediately on what you've just shown, I think that really brings a really interesting dimension to that learning environment. I think we all recognise in teaching that there's different styles of learning, and that word pedagogy, about discussing about how children learn, is very important. And I think interactive whiteboards have gone some way to address some of that. But I think visualisers and interactive response systems actually add to that and actually take the learning experience much further along. So, you know, whether you're using a response system because you want to know what the kids are thinking and there is some kinesthetic learning going on, or whether you're using a visualizer for adding an additional dimension because you want to take a resource that's in the school itself rather than taking something off the internet and then talking about it. I think it really adds a different dimension.
Is it slightly daunting, do you think, for teachers who maybe don't have access to your system already? Are they maybe slightly worried that it's going to be something that they get and then can't use? What support network can you offer?
Well, what we've always tried to do in the company is provide additional training. And what we absolutely, you're absolutely right, Vicky, in terms of training being such a critical part of our company. What we believe is, if you buy a product from us, that we will come out and we will train the teachers on not only how to use the features of the product, which is fine, you know, split screen's great, as we mentioned earlier on, and being able to take something from colour into black and white, but really, why would you want to do that, and how do you integrate it, and where does it fit into the national curriculum? And a lot of our consultants are ex-teachers, so they've really got a lot of experience in terms of ICT and how to use our technology and where it fits in. And I think that's a real strength of the company. And again, because you, as you say, used a lot of ex-teachers who may come with a heck of a lot of background and experience, it's a culture of sharing, I should imagine, as they go around as well, that one teacher might find one use for it and you can sort of pass it on, really. Oh, absolutely. I think schools have always been a place where teachers have disseminated good practice, and I think it's something that we encourage. And one of the things that we try to do in the training is to get champions in schools to adopt the technology and then disseminate. But also, when we're doing the training, we try to do practical, so we try to get hands-on. We try to get the teachers involved and do hands-on workshops with them. So it's not just about one of our ex-teacher consultants standing up and doing a presentation and saying, you know, go and repeat that, but actually saying to teachers, why don't you come up and what are you teaching at the moment and where do you think it can fit into your literacy and numeracy science? How can you see the Genie visualiser really sort of helping schools and pupils interact? Well, I think a lot of teachers forget when they've got a Genie Vision visualiser, they've actually got a really powerful video web conferencing tool. And not only can they talk with that tool to schools on a national basis, but on an international basis. So what a teacher could actually do is, if they're using the Genie Vision visualiser and demonstrating something, there's nothing to actually stop another school in another location accessing that through the internet because of the camera. The camera is a CCD camera, it's a really powerful lens, and what it allows you to do is act just like a standard video conferencing or web conferencing tool. So I think there's another dimension sometimes that people forget that they could use their Genie Vision visualiser for. Well, Ranjit, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.